Hello, greetings. This is Energy and System Lab 1 and week 1. This is the first lab we're doing, and I'm just starting to use this program, Screen-O-Matic, so bear with me here. I will try to post this video in place of the lecture, which will be Mondays. So if you notice, this lab course is a lecture portion, then there's also a lab portion. So the lecture is something you can watch online. If you have any questions, you can come to the class designated time on Google Hangout and ask questions. Otherwise, you can just watch the stuff online and just come to the lab portion. Please follow the guidelines from school about entering campus and so on. And okay, let's get on with this lecture. So we will talk about electrical safety. So I'm assuming that we will start from the ABCs in terms of electricity. So I'll go from the beginning, and please do not afraid to ask questions. So the first thing we need to know is how to be safe inside the shop. It's a really large shop. We'll do the first week we'll do a tour where we go and see all the areas where we keep the equipment, where are the tools, where do you find supplies. And I want you to be able to identify work hazards in the shop, and we'll talk about that as we do the walk through. We will also locate major equipment in the shop for the job that you're doing. So basically the boilers, gas furnaces, or AC. So you know where those are. We also will find where's the major exits and so on. And we'll also talk about electrical safety. And where do you find the breakers? How do you turn on switches? And similar things. Okay, so safety first. Consider safety as your first priority and report any unsafe issues. Probably you've noticed that the building is a little bit old, it's still under renovation. So be careful if you see any water leaks, any kind of spills, any equipment that's being left plugged. So be aware and be very vigilant. So there could be a lot of hazard, and we will identify this as we go along in the shop. If something goes wrong, please do not panic. Try to contact me. Tell me what happened, and we will try to resolve the issue, whether it's a spillage, equipment problem, something didn't go well, something didn't work. Just take your time and tell me what happened, and we'll do the proper uh, fix. And it will be me with the lab tech, so either of us can help you out when we are in the lab. Before you start the lab, make sure you have all the required equipment and full instructions. So before we start the lab, we'll gather in the classroom. I will explain what we are going to do. So make sure you have your lab sheet, you understand what we're going to do, and you have all the tools you need available to you before you start the lab. Instead of us being there, it's going to be a group of us, and you don't want to be going all over the place looking for stuff. So we'll stick together, and we will try to find all the stuff that you need when we do the lab. Another safety measure is do not touch any equipment that's not within your assignment. So I will show you before we start the lab. It's what we're doing. These are the tools. Feel free to look around, but just do not tamper or touch anything that is not within your lab scope, because that could be somebody else working on something, or it could be an equipment under progress or under process or being fixed or whatever. Okay, so for the personal protective equipment, I put that in your syllabus. So probably you'll find all this stuff in the bookstore, or you can buy them yourself. I really require you to bring your stuff with you in the lab. I might, for some labs, have to ask you to leave if you don't have any of these. Gloves, we have two types of gloves. We have the latex gloves that we can use to insulate the hands. So you can buy a box. If you forget them, we can provide some latex gloves. However, mechanical gloves are needed that will prevent you from cutting your hand or getting some kind of thermal burn. So make sure you purchase decent mechanical gloves, and they last you for a long time. Goggles, I cannot let you be inside the lab without goggles, so buy goggles that are comfortable for you. There are ones that does not fog, or you can like buy an anti-fog spray, but seriously, I cannot let you be inside the lab without goggles, because again, it's not only about you, it's about people around you. Masks are required because we will do some soldering and brazing. So there are some fumes in there. Also, when we do the boiler cleaning, there will be some soot. So I will ask you to please have your mask on when we do this kind of stuff, and keep your mask during the entire lab if possible. Shoes, we are not allowed to have any open toe shoes, so make sure you have safety shoes. If you have a safety shoes actually with a metallic steel toe, that will be perfect. If not, just any working shoes will be okay. Sneakers are not going to help you if something falls on your toes, like a hammer or a screwdriver or equipment. So I would really prefer that you have safety shoes on. However, regular shoes are going to be okay, but again, they're not going to protect you if something falls on your toes. Also, safety shoes usually are non-slip, and they are electrically insulated. Long sleeve shirts are required. If you do not, we have you can just wear a regular t-shirt, but you bring your lab coats with you. There are some lockers in the shop. I don't know what is the situation of using them right now, so you can bring your lab coat and you can take it with you as you go. No, it's supposed to be loose, no loose objects, like do not have any chains or something loose. If you have long hair, please make sure you tie it back. We're not allowed to have any drinks or food in the lab, so you can leave things in the classroom. While in the lab, leave things away. You can have a bottle with you and just leave it, but leave it in your back on the floor. We're just afraid it will spill over some equipment. Electrical safety, here are some guidelines from OSHA, things that we should be aware of. And if you are in theory and control course, probably the first week we talked about safety, and you'll be able to find some nice guidelines in the book in chapter 1. The book is Electricity for Refrigeration, Heating, and Ventilation. So OSHA, electrical safety, one of the guidelines says assume all wires are energized. So do not assume any wire is dead. So before we go into the lab, probably you should go and have your voltage pin with you so you can check the voltage before you touch any wire. Never touch a falling overhead power line or any kind of line without knowing if it has power or not. And here they're talking about utility, but that's in a general case. Again, if you see a wire that's falling, especially if it's in water, make sure you stay away at least 10 feet or 3 meters, because power can't jump on an object if and it can also arc, especially if there's some kind of wetness or moisture, or if there's some kind of metallic objects near it. If an overhead wire falls across your vehicle, that's again from OSHA, just in case. They always tell you to stay in the vehicle and do not leave, because the vehicle is insulated. Once you get grounded and you step on the street, probably you become a conductor. Never operate electric equipment while you are standing in water. That goes without saying. I hope you have that in. Never repair electrical cord or equipment unless qualified and authorized. That's also important. I mean, for us, after we finish this lab and the next lab in the spring, probably you'll be qualified to repair electrical equipment within your scope, which is ACs and boilers or furnaces. But for other equipment, you should refrain from trying to repair codes that do not belong to your field. Have a qualified technician inspect electrical equipment before energizing it. Also have a qualified technician to inspect the wiring all the way from the panel to your disconnect switch. We said in the other course that you are allowed to do the wiring within your scope, which is the AC or the heating unit, but you are not allowed to do any wiring from the control panel to the disconnect switch. So you have to ask somebody who's qualified and licensed to do that for you. If working in a damp location, inspect electrical cords and equipment, ensure that they are in good condition and free of defects, and use ground fault circuit interrupter, GFCI. We talked about that. It's really a good safety measure if you are working in damp locations. Always use caution when working with electricity. Do not assume again that the system is not live or dead. It could be alive and you don't know. So when you lean or you have something behind you, make sure you're not leaning or touching against wires that you're not sure if they're dead or not. So safety equipment we have in the lab is one of them is fire blankets. Those are very useful in case something catches catches on fire, you can smother it with the blanket, and I will show you in the lab how do we use these. We have 3 of them in the shop, just near the boiler, just in case something catches on fire or there's some kind of flame. We can just smother it and mitigate that. We have around 6 fire extinguishers around the shop. Usually they are near the exits or the fire alarms. I will show you how do we use them and how do we inspect them, and where they are. So that's really important for you to know where they are located in case you need to. We have goggles that you can borrow. However, this is not the case during the COVID. You have to bring your own goggles, so please bring your own goggles to the lab. Gloves, again, bring your own gloves with you. We can provide you some latex gloves depending on the lab, but if you need mechanical gloves, actually you need mechanical gloves, bring those with you, especially when we do sheet metal or when we do boiler cleaning. You will need to have some thick gloves so you do not cut your hand. Also when we do brazing and soldering. Shoes, again, no open toed shoes. Breathing mask or regular and charcoal. So you can have regular breathing mask that probably you've been familiar with them by now. And also there is the N95 with the charcoal particle in it. Those are really important when you do soldering and brazing. Do's and don'ts: tuck in loose clothing, wear stable shoes with non-slippery insole or sole. Avoid liquids in the floor. Inform the instructor if there's any liquids, whether it's oil or water. Avoid hitting or bumping into the equipment. Be careful of your surrounding. Watch out for your head. Sometimes you'll be walking in a boiler, you stand up and there's a pipe in front of you, and this is actually very realistic to what will happen in somebody's house or basement. Act professional and practice safe lab behavior. Let's not do a lot of like running or throwing equipment around. It's very tight areas, and there's many of us in the lab. Don't misplace equipment or tools for that to trip on. We have buckets where you can put your oil tools with you when you go work on a boiler or an AC. Do not just place them on top of other equipments. Do not leave running equipment unattended. This happened before, and it's very frequent. People will turn on a boiler and just leave it and go to the bathroom. Don't do that. Please inform the instructor or the lab tech if you have to leave it on. Other than that, just turn off and come back to it later. Do not be near flammable material like dust or fumes without face mask. So we have flammable material. Don't be around like diesel or refrigerant or dust if we do cleaning, or any fumes without face mask. Make sure you always have your face mask on. Shop equipment. We have a tool room. Again, the tool, you'll see where the tool room is. Pipe fitting section. There's also supplies rooms, and there are some boilers and electrical boards for practice. And I will show you some pictures, but those are better to see when you come to the lab. Electrical tools that you might need, and you have to know where to locate. If you can start a collection now to have your own tools to use when you graduate, that's also useful. And I put some of this equipment in the syllabus so you can find them in the bookstore. So you're gonna need to use some wires. We have a lot of wires in the shop: wire nuts, wire strippers, and voltmeters, multimeters, electrical tape, screwdrivers, and pliers. I don't know if I spelled pliers right, but whatever. So this is the tool room. So you'll see it in the middle of the shop, and you can see inside there is some numbered closets, and they have the name of the equipment in it. So we'll go over them, take some notes, so you know where to find supplies when you need to. This is the pipe fitting areas. We will have the area in the back and the front for like manual pipe fitting and cutting, and we also have a power threader that we will use in that pipe fitting lab. The tree house, we call this place the tree house because it looks like somebody's basement, and we have 3 boilers here in the back and a furnace and 2 boilers there. So as you can see, it's very similar to what you will see in real life, but try to be careful walking around and don't bump into anybody or other equipment. This is the main fuel tank, is in the back, and you have to turn on this fuel tank, this pump over here. Let me show you. Let me get a pen. So this is where you turn on your pump. The pump has a disconnect switch here. So you click it on. The pump will circulate the oil throughout the lab before you're able to turn on your boiler. And we'll get to it when time comes. These are the electrical boards. We'll connect these boards using those wires, and it's just a practice for you to know how to connect a control system for an industrial boiler. So if you have any questions or concerns regarding the lab, please feel free to post questions on the discussion board in the lab Blackboard shell. And again, this lab lecture will be posted online. We have a meeting every week on Monday. I did the Google Hangout for you to join in. And please try to come early to the lab. The lab is usually at 1:30. Check your syllabus and your section. And you have to come early to check in with the school. And yeah, we'll start sharply at 1:08. Hopefully things will go smooth. Thank you very much and see you soon.